Once upon a time, in a peaceful village called Cantor, there lived a woman named Stella. She was the best cook in the whole village, and everyone loved her food. But there was one thing the villagers did not know: Stella had a secret. She was not a kind woman at all. Deep inside, Stella was mean and selfish. Every year, the village had a big feast to celebrate the harvest. This was the happiest time for everyone. The king of the village, King Oliver, always asked Stella to cook the feast because her food tasted so good. People traveled from far away just to eat her meals. But Stella had a wicked heart. She used her magic pot to make the food taste special. The pot had dark powers, and Stella whispered spells into it to make sure everyone loved her food. This year, however, Stella decided to do something very evil. As the feast day approached, Stella said to herself, "Everyone praises me for my cooking, but no one knows I use magic. I will teach them a lesson. I will make a dish so powerful that everyone will fall under my control." With a wicked smile, Stella started to plan her evil trick. Stella's pot was not an ordinary pot. It had been given to her by a strange old woman she had met many years ago. The pot could make food taste delicious, but it could also do much worse if Stella whispered the right spell. Stella kept the pot hidden in her small, dark kitchen. No one else knew about it, not even her family members. Every time she cooked, she would say a secret spell, and the pot would glow for a moment before the food came out perfect. This year, for the village feast, Stella wanted to use the pot's full power. She mixed ingredients together: yams, peppers, onions, and all kinds of spices, and stirred the pot. As she stirred, she muttered the spell: magic pot, make my dish sweet, but let those who eat it fall at my feet." As soon as she finished the spell, the pot started to bubble and hiss. A strange smoke filled the kitchen, but Stella just laughed. "No one can resist me now," she said to herself, her eyes glowing with mischief. The day of the feast finally arrived. The village square was decorated with colorful cloths, and tables were set with bowls, spoons, and plates. Everyone was excited. They couldn't wait to taste Stella's famous food. King Oliver sat on his grand chair, smiling at his people. He was a wise and kind king who cared about his village. He trusted Stella to make the feast special. As the sun set, Stella appeared with her big pot of food. The smell of the meal was so good that people could hardly wait to taste it. Everyone gathered around, licking their lips, ready to eat. "Let the feast begin," shouted King Oliver, and the people cheered. Stella served her dish to everyone, starting with the king. As soon as they took their first bite, their eyes grew wide. "This is the best food I have ever tasted," said one villager. "Yes, Stella is truly the best cook," said another. But Stella just smiled to herself. She knew the real reason why everyone loved the food. It was not just because it tasted good. The magic spell was working. As the villagers ate more and more, they began to feel strange. Their heads felt heavy, and their legs became weak. One by one, they all stopped talking and looked at Stella. Stella laughed wickedly. "Now you are all under my spell," she shouted. King Oliver, too, was under her control. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His eyes were wide with fear as he realized what had happened. "You see," Stella said, "I have always wanted more than just praise for my cooking. Now, you will all do whatever I say." The villagers nodded slowly. They could not think for themselves anymore. Stella had them all in her power. "From now on, I am in charge," Stella declared. "You will bring me gifts, and you will listen to everything I say. If anyone disobeys me, I will never cook for the village again." The people were too afraid to resist. They were trapped, and Stella's magic was too strong. But in the crowd, one small boy named Troy was not affected by the spell. He had not eaten Stella's food because he was allergic to peppers, and his mother had given him a different meal. Troy watched in silence as Stella took control of the village, but he knew he had to do something to stop her. Troy was a clever boy. He knew that if he told anyone about Stella's evil plan, they wouldn't believe him because they were all under her spell. He needed help, and he remembered something his grandmother had told him. "Troy," she once said, "if you ever find yourself in trouble, go to the wise old man in the forest. He knows many secrets and can help you with his wisdom." Troy decided to find the wise old man. That night, while everyone in the village was sleeping, he sneaked out of his house and ran into the forest. It was dark, and the trees looked like tall shadows, but Troy was not afraid. He walked for hours until he found a small hut deep in the woods. Inside, he saw the wise old man sitting by a fire. "Ah, Troy, I have been expecting you," said the old man. "You knew I was coming?" Troy asked, surprised. "Yes, I know everything that happens in this village," the wise man replied. "And I know about Stella's magic pot." Troy sat down and told the old man everything, about the feast, the magic spell, and how Stella had taken control of the village. "Please, help me stop her," Troy begged. The wise man stroked his long beard and nodded. "There is a way to break Stella's spell," he said, "but it won't be easy. You must find a special herb called the truth flower. It grows only in the highest part of the mountain. If you can bring it back and put it in Stella's pot, the spell will be broken." Troy knew he had no choice but to find the truth flower. The next morning, he set off for the mountain. The climb was steep and difficult, but Tunda was determined. He had to save his village from Stella's wickedness. After hours of climbing, Troy finally reached the top. There, hidden among the rocks, he saw a small, glowing flower. Its petals were pure white, and it shone like the moon. This was the truth flower. Carefully, Troy picked the flower and put it in his pocket. He knew he had to get back to the village quickly before Stella noticed anything was wrong. As Troy hurried down the mountain, he heard strange noises. The wind howled, and the trees seemed to whisper. Suddenly, a pack of wild animals appeared, blocking his path. Their eyes glowed in the dark, and they looked hungry. Troy's heart raced. He had to think fast. Then he remembered the truth flower. Maybe its magic could help him. He held the flower up high and said, "Please, help me pass safely." To his surprise, the animals backed away, as if afraid of the flower's glow. They disappeared into the forest, leaving Troy alone. He sighed with relief and continued his journey back home. Meanwhile, in the village, Stella had started to notice something strange. She could feel that her magic was weakening. She looked around and saw that Troy was missing. Her eyes narrowed. "That boy must be up to something," she muttered angrily. Stella decided to set a trap. She knew Troy would return soon, and when he did, she would be ready for him. Troy finally reached the village, tired but determined. He snuck into Stella's kitchen, holding the truth flower in his hand. But just as he was about to drop it into the magic pot, Stella appeared. "So, you think you can stop me, little boy?" she hissed. Troy didn't say a word. He quickly threw the flower into the pot. As soon as it touched the food, the pot began to shake. A bright light filled the room, and the evil magic started to disappear. Stella screamed in anger, but it was too late. The spell was broken. All the villagers woke up from their trance, confused but free from Stella's control. Stella, ashamed and powerless, left the village forever. The people celebrated their freedom, and Troy became a hero. King Oliver placed a hand on Troy's shoulder and said, "You have saved us all, young Troy. You were brave and wise, even when we were helpless. We owe you our gratitude." The villagers cheered, clapping and dancing around the village square. The feast, which had turned into a disaster, was now a celebration of freedom and unity. But this time, no one ate Stella's food. Instead, the villagers prepared the meal together, sharing their dishes and enjoying the true taste of friendship and kindness. King Oliver called the village council together and said, "We must learn from this. Let no one ever use magic or trickery to harm others. We must be careful who we trust, and we must always do what is right." The villagers agreed, and they promised to watch over one another, making sure that no one would ever be able to use dark magic to control them again. As for Troy, he grew up to be a wise and respected man in the village. His courage had taught the people that even the smallest among them could make a big difference. From that day on, the people of Cantor lived in peace, always remembering the brave boy who saved them from the evil cook. The story of Stella the evil cook teaches us an important lesson. We should always be careful not to hurt others with our actions, and we should never use our talents or abilities for selfish or evil purposes. Stella had a special gift for cooking, but instead of using it to bring joy, she used it to control others, and in the end, she lost everything. On the other hand, Troy, though young and small, was brave and did what was right, even when no one else could. Kindness, honesty, and bravery are the most powerful tools we can have. They can help us overcome even the darkest of situations. And when we work together and care for one another, we can achieve anything. See you next time when we bring you an even more intriguing and captivating African folktale story. Kindly like, share, comment and subscribe to our channel.